So thank you for coming, and I'm going to turn the stage over to Valerio. Thank you very much for coming over.
Well, good afternoon to everybody. A few of you, I met you directly, and it's so we already had a way of interacting. I think it's my turn to give a bit of a feedback, which I hope you will use also to disseminate this, what I'm just telling you, to other people you know. It's a small gathering today, but I think it doesn't mean that it's not important, because each one of you, at least the ones I met directly, had something unique to talk to me about, right? And I think that's the uniqueness, is what we are here for and what we're trying to do. I'm not alone here. My colleagues from the R&D community, and we have Ilanit, which most of you probably know, which is sort of a foot into the environment here, which is a dusty environment at the moment. But I know that Israel is also a beautiful country, and I have a colleague of mine, which is the only one which has been able to give me, and Gofna is there, which only with her had a good Israeli weather, right? With the others, when I went to Sderot, it was bad weather, and with Ilian, it definitely has been bad weather. Last time it was even snowing here, so it's all her fault in that sense. So a few slides about Nestle, which I think probably you know, but it gives you a good feed of what we're doing in the world, and what is our role, and how we're playing the game. And then I have a few slides on why it's important, what we're trying to do around the world, but particularly what is important in my role. Now, I didn't present myself to most of you. I've been in the company for more than 25 years. I'm Italian. I have a master's degree in chemistry, general chemistry, an MBA, and I've been working in specifically 3 main domains in the company. One is the operations domain, where in operations you can be factory manager, production manager, supply chain, procurement, everything. So I've done all of those type of venues. I've also, and the last job I did in operations was dealing with a joint venture we have with Breakfast Seal Partners Worldwide, probably more known as a breakfast seal manufacturer worldwide. We have a joint venture for the rest of the world, and that's how through this joint venture we also sell products over here. I've done R&D. I was running the biggest applied research R&D center we have. It's called Nestle, it's Product Technology Center for beverages, cereals, and coffee machines, and systems in general. And I've been running as a market head, market in Singapore, and that's my commercial arm. And since a year I came back, and I've been running this new function called Innovation Strategy and Performance under the CTO, report directly to CTO. So I'll just briefly talk to you about it, and then if you want more questions, you can ask me afterwards what it's all about. Nestle has embarked into a journey which is about looking into nutrition, health, and wellness. And the way we express nutrition, health, and wellness is all about people's quality of life. And we do this by basically serving people all over the world with our products. And we cover from pregnant women all the way to elderly people, and in this journey we have pets also, which are part of this journey, and it's very, very clearly expressed into this chart, which clearly shows you the journey we are in with people. And we have in different markets, we cover the entire journey. In some markets we cover partial of the journey. This depends very much on the way we're structuring different markets. The guiding principle to how we are trying to put this journey together is, and it was very interesting, a few of you have touched about this in your thing, is first of all, the guiding principle is to first do no harm. So our products need to be really safe, our products need to be nutritionally sound, they need to be able to have a purpose and to have an element of contribution to nutrition. We have to be inspired by nature, and I think we had an example here of one of you who presented me, and inspired by nature, by observing certain things. You can then deduct that what nature does could also be replicated. And add life to years. We're not saying it's a really important thing. We know we're living longer, but how do you live longer? You live longer in a wheelchair, or you live longer in a good state. And we know very well that what you are as an old person is a consequence of what you've been doing over your life, about the genetic elements which are given to us. We need to make sure we satisfy the different nutritional needs that vary according to the age you are and the stage you are in your life. And we also need to understand that this is where the discovery, the more understanding of human being, the nutrigenomics, genomics, and other things, will also give us more and more indications of what are the unmet nutritional needs, what are the important things. And more you go into what we call the personalized nutrition element, and this is really important. So you understand that when we're talking to startups, we're looking into potentially areas where these things are more or less prominent or not, be it into the left-hand side or the right-hand side of this chart. Now, this is Nestle at glance. We're certainly a big company, and we're very decentralized in the way we operate. So the markets have a big authority on the P&L, and we are present in quite a number of countries. We have something like more than almost 450 factories. It keeps on changing. Sometimes we buy companies, sometimes we sold companies, and we basically have 1 billion. And that number is higher now with respect to China, have 1 billion products sold every day. So every day is 1 billion of servings consumed in the planet by our products. So you think we're big, we're not big, because we only are responsible for 2% of the food intake in the world. So when our chairman and our CEO says there are always possibilities to grow, they look to it from that point of view, right? So we are very small when you look to the other things. And innovation has been always in the heart of the company, and we have started 150 years ago. Next year will be a 150 year celebration we will have with Mr. Henry Nestle, which solved a big problem, which was premature mortality of babies, and through a combination of milk and cereal-based type of product, the so-called farine lactate, solved a big issue in these days. And from there, I think it's been a journey which has brought us to where we are today with a lot of innovation, be it Nescafe, be it other forms of things. This, we call it the Easter egg chart, one way or another, because it's a series of Easter eggs, right? And it's the journey where the company has been, and not only us, but other companies, but the journey which we have been, and what have been the different techniques and elements that move it from an agro-conversion company to a nutrition and health and wellness company in one way or another. I think it was all before about food supply, solving the problem of survival and hunger, and that's where technologies like agricultural and biotechnology helped us to move in it. And we have been building food security, where then preservation technology, food safety, made sure that we had food and nutrition supply through preservation technology. Then I think the element of taste, aroma, and variety came very, very, very appealing, and that's where food science and technology came to play a game. And now I think in these later years we're talking more about health and well-being, and we're going all the way to disease management in some of the areas of our products, and that's where nutrition and health science are coming together. You could also relate to this as a series of ecosystems that are converging. If you think about it, the food ecosystems are converging into nutrition. The health ecosystems is quantify itself, and then you have the life science, more about the DNA, more about yourself, more about nutrigenomics, phenotyping people, and then finally material science. And a few of you, while we were explaining a few things, we were talking about material science as a new evolution of solving certain type of issue, be it the obesity issue, be it the sugar entrapment, or all that type of thing. So that's the journey we're in, and that's where we are, the space we're trying to look into more and more. And I think we have a very extraordinary research and development arm there. We have 32 different centers, I'll show it to you. And we play very well the game of innovation, and sometimes also breakthrough. And I think Nespresso is a very good example of a major breakthrough, which is today a considerable, sizable company. And like that, we have a few breakthroughs that we have more in the products. Now, this is our food map in the research, and you can really see here in Israel we have Sderot, is very clearly there, and my colleagues here are representing Sderot, and David there, and Goffman, who's before the head of the center. But you see we're all over the world with different sizes of centers. We're organized by business R&D centers, and under those business R&D centers we have the mothership, which is called the Product Technology Center, and underneath there we have what we call the development centers, which are a little bit what you're seeing over there. And we're trying to overcome some of the white spots we have, and you can see we're already very present in China, and wherever we're not present, and we have eventually different type of setups, which we also have capabilities there. So the Nestle innovation model is, what is the connecting point between the consumer, the business, the sustainability, and the different elements? And we express it: the consumer what are the consumers' needs, what are the problems we need to solve for the consumers, what are the benefits for them. Any solution should have a big science and technology backup. So is there intellectual property? Is there something that creates competitive advantage, which gives us a delivering edge and making us differentiated into the marketplace? Can we have something that allows us to sustain this business, which is obviously making the necessary profit that we can then reinvest in the business and other things? And particularly, I think in today's world, I think the operational sustainability is not only sustainability on the footprint, but are we doing products which have a lower footprint than any new product we do? Do we have products which are more nutritionally sound? I think this is where we look at things in one way or another. Now, I'm switching gears here, and so that's the Nestle story, and I think the Nestle story gives us a legitimate reason to be here and to talk to you in the fact that we need help from the outside world. But the big debate is how do you connect with this outside world? And this is a sentence I've borrowed from putting together different worlds. Innovation is action. It's where the world of creativity, ideas that come from anywhere, and the business, making something tangible out of it, meet together to create new value. And I think, you guys come here, you are the creative spark in this outside world with thought about solving a problem, and you're looking to some business capabilities to extend your idea into something bigger, right? And that's exactly the reason why we're here, because connecting with you, sometimes we might have also reached to that type of the solution of the problem, but you look to it from a different point of view. And that's where the thing is. And food tech is still an emerging tech type of startup, and I think the fact that the kitchen initiative is here and they're trying to look into enabling visibility is a big thing, because it's finally, if you think about digital tech, if you think about marketing, if you think about IT, these are all well-developed areas. But the food tech, if you really Google it, there are not a lot of places. There's sparks here and there, and I think that's where I like about this initiative. So I'll try to tell you why, what, and how we need to collaborate and we need to be together. Because why? The why comes very, very quickly because of the speed we have around us. The world is evolving extremely fast. Before you could say, I take 5 years to discover something. Today you have competing people like you or like companies like us which are trying to find out the same thing. So we have shrinking product life cycles. The mean time of our products on the shelf without having a new feature that is new to the consumer, it's finished the time that you have 3 years, your same label, your same thing, nothing is improving your product. You always have to bring new news because there are new people coming in and always challenging you. And not only that, the development cycle needs to be faster in the way you develop new ideas and you bring them into the market. So the reality around us is really like driving that fast car. The lights are very blurred, they're not anymore defined, and you need to be able to work in this ecosystem which is extremely different. I don't need to explain this world. You live in a very volatile, uncertain, ambiguous and complex environment. Israel by default, because of where you are, the ecosystem, the geographical location, you think. And when you have this sudden danger, there's always a hidden opportunity. So that's why many companies have taken this and put themselves into the shoes of what are the VUCA answers. So the VUCA answer is you need to have vision. I think Nestle has vision. You need to understand where you're going, and I think the fact that we're evolving from purely a food and beverage company to more and more elements related to global management, which are working more in nutrition, be it Nestle Nutrition, be it Nestle Health Science, which is working on more the disease management part, or the newly company which we call it Nestle Skin Health, because we are operating the skin, because skin is the second microbiome after your gut, right? So you really think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Of course, it makes also sense of the well-being. Clarity, I think we're pretty clear what we want to do and how we want to do it. What we're missing is agility. Agility is not in the DNA of big companies, not only Nestle, any companies in that type of space where it's very difficult. If you talk to the wrong person in Nestle, you will never get through that wall, right? You need to find the right way. And so putting together a group of people that can come and talk to you guys, and at least opening the doors and having the right connections and putting things, at least brings this little idea you might be having here in a more bigger chance and opportunity to see some throughput or some through into the organization. And it might be a yes or a no, but at least you know you have a feedback. Sometimes ideas get into bigger operations that you don't know where they've gone. They're just dispersed. People get missing and nothing happens, right? So that's for me really, really important, why we need to connect with the world. So it's a faster and very volatile environment. So how do you organize around this type of things? And I think this is just blah, 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 but if you really look to it, you have to start thinking about more holistic innovation. So it's not alone only about products, it's about the technology, and we saw a few examples of technology here today. It's about enterprise capability. How do you become a better enterprise? So maybe traceability, food safety issues that you could solve, helps you to cut down money that you're spending into all those type of environments. And business model and breakthrough are more and more enabled by startups and other people that are talking to you. You really need to be ahead of the game, so be faster, and therefore you need to become more agile in this space. And I think you play a very important role. And the big gaps, everybody's looking for the next big thing in the big gaps. It's around technologies, it's about models, it's about ideas, and the compression of time where you execute an idea into the marketplace. A few of you told me, and it's 3 years I'm working with this thing, right? It takes time, to develop an idea into something which is bigger. So if we, by marrying with some of the ideas that we think are valuable and could be having a pairing need with us, if we would match this type of thing, the speed will be faster for us and for food tech type of startups. So that's a bit where we are, and I think this is very interesting, because we will be judged more and more not because of the past, like financial institutions or financial firms, or the rating will be given by the capability you have to show what you are working in the future rather than the past. The past is given, but how do you project yourself in the future? And talking about innovation, what are the ideas, where the direction you're going to do, will build confidence in the shareholders to put more money. Of course, the China might bring your share down because China is a problem, right? It's a market. But if you have another story about innovation, your market capitalization will go up. And so I don't know where Apple is today, because they're just opening now, but what they said yesterday in the press conference about the products, and I don't know if it was reassuring, it was more or less the same, it was an evolution of the whole thing. Frankly speaking, to me, as a user, I looked at the only cool thing it is maybe the Apple TV, which is a bit having other features. The other ones is just enhancement, it's just renovation, it's not innovation in the terms, even if I must admit they have cool products and I use most of the Apple things. So this, we'll see what the market will rate them, but personally, if I look to that, the Apple TV is probably the biggest one, and we still have to see how it works. So innovation premium will be more and more important. So if you can play the game in helping companies to do that, and I'm not talking about Nestle tech, I'm talking about your approach towards the big corporation, that would be very important. So we've seen the why, let's see the what needs to be done in this area. And remember, it's all about three things. It's about discovery. So how you discover new things. You have a few ways you do it. You do it your own. You go to academia. You go to your suppliers. And now we have finally, since the financial crisis, we've seen these startups, these whole vehicles, accelerators, incubators, or you go there and you talk to different people. That's how you discover things. And sometimes it's faster to discover things outside than inside, because inside there's a certain liturgy of doing things in a certain sequence. Develop and deploy is what I think we are really strong as big corporations. We can really, once we know what we have to do, once we know what that hotspot is, we can go and develop very, very fast. We have this ammunition of the 32 centers which can make things happen. And deploying, if we have a winning idea, we can also do that faster. So remember, this is very important. When you do that discovery needs to follow three principles. It needs to be desirable. So the prototype you will have, or the concept you have, needs to be desirable. I mean, when you put it in front of the people, wow. Or when you put it in the mouth of people, wow, right? If you drink it, wow. It's something which is different. It's differentiating. It's desirable. But it's desirable. It costs you. Don't know how to produce it. It's still so. It needs to be feasible, right? So from an industrial point of view, you have to have imagination how to make it happen, and it needs to be viable. You need to make it happen in a thing that doesn't cost you a fortune, right? Because one prototype costs you a fortune is okay, but when you go into industrial line, it needs to be there. So that discovery phase needs to fulfill that need, and that's why we talk about using techniques which are much more closer to the design world rather than to the industrial world, and that's why we talk about design thinking. But design thinking per se, without a timeline attached to it, means nothing. So if you don't know about design thinking, my recommendation is you as startups, you could understand it better, because design thinking gives you a framework of scoping to define what the problem is. It's very simple. What is the problem you're trying to solve? One of you told me, I want to give you a snack that makes you less fat, because you all eat snacks and you get fatter. If that's the problem you're trying to solve, then you would do research, right? You need to understand what's happening in the world, what are the things, what's in that. What do you mean? Can you make money out of this thing? If you cannot make money, you better abandon the idea and go back to the drawing board with the problem. But the most important thing you need to create, you need to have tangible prototype. And it cannot be one, because if that's your only shot you have, maybe it will not satisfy one of the three criteria: desirable, viable, or feasible, right? So you need to have multiple prototypes. And one of you told me today, I made it. I had the perfect nutrition profile. The problem is when I put it in my mouth, it was awful. So if that's the case, you're off the top. It's not desirable. You have the perfect storm. You can make it viable. You can make a lot of money. I can make it happen. But when I sell it, nobody buys it. Why? Because the primary reason why you eat something needs to taste good, right? So of course you need to have more than one prototype, and maybe among the different 10 prototypes, 3 would be bad, but 4 would be acceptable, 3 would be good. And then you need to balance that whole thing. And validating, what are you going to do? I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm going to do it tonight, or maybe it's not feasible today, it will be feasible this thing. So design thinking is a big recommendation. Few of you made great presentation, but think about what's the problem you're trying to solve and what you want to do. And we do this all the time, and we're not good at that, even ourselves. So there's a lot of work to do in this area. Idea hunting. And that's why we're here, because I think before companies were really working more or less into this type of area, right? Open innovation was more this type of territory. And that's not good enough, because there's a bigger ocean here, which made a startup, venture capital, entrepreneurs. And it's more you go away, more is uncomfortable for companies to behave in that area. If I'm very close here, I know how where to find things. We have search engines, we have other things. More I go far away from the motherships, right? From the corporate, more it's difficult to do that. And that's why places like the Kitchen, places like Dig Eat All in Europe, or other organizations like Mass Challenge, which helps to create accelerators, they're also present here, are helping big corporations do that. And different companies get organized in different ways. Unilever has the Foundry. We don't have a name, but we have people going around, and everybody organizes, and nobody's found the magic solution. That's why you would probably sometimes you'll be confused if you talk to us, if you talk to another one, because nobody has the magic touch on how to approach this. Because when you have an idea and you want to also bring it to business, this is also valid for you, but it's also valid for us. It's all about finding what's the problem. Is the problem big enough? Do I create a prototype? And once I create a prototype, I put it out in the open, and I find out if this idea is a good idea or a bad idea, because I can do the most beautiful thing that I think is good. Everybody inside, because I'm the boss, tells me it's great. Then I go out and people say, this is really, so forgive me that word, shit. Nobody wants to do it. The worst case is when I remember sometimes I was very proud bringing some prototypes out home, and I was giving it to my daughter and said, hey, God, and she was probably, 13, 14 at the time, saying, what do you think about that? Dad, this is crap. You could never have done something so awful. We will never, would you give it to your friends to try? I would not dare to give it to my friends. That's the acid test of what we call market discovery. And normally your family members are very honest with you. They are not trying to pamper you unless they want something from you, right? And then I think you need to, the real thing is when you go incubation, acceleration, and you can call it, round 1, round 2, round 3, whatever it is. But that's the way both us and you need to think. And I think innovation, and I think you had a lot of passion in your presentation. You had also some good structure. But it's more about understanding each other, the inside piece. How do you dialogue? How do you connect? How you do that? And having the right people around the table that can interact and understanding each other. And I think we both live in two different worlds. The entrepreneurs live in that lower world, and you normally talk to other guys like you understand about how to make a P&L. Maybe you might have design thinking. We will think about design thinking. We think about culture and other things. But it's a combination of innovation and entrepreneurship which makes it tick and makes new business thinking and creates new ground and new disruption. And we have to accept that, the world will reward in the future because machines, I heard a lot about algorithms, will replace level 1, level 2, level 3 because they're able to do repeatable work. We know about cars, self-driving cars, we hear more about that. But you will never have an initiative capability in a self-driving car or the creative things that I'm changing. Have you ever tried to override your GPS? The lady or the man, depends who you have, keeps on saying you're in the wrong way. But that's your initiative, say, you know what, I'm going to take a different route this time, right? And until she or him doesn't realize that you are human and you want to decide to do something different because it's a different day, she will keep on pestering you with obedience, diligence, expertise, and say, you're on the wrong route, change it, go there, go there. So initiative, creative, and passion, which are typical of startups, is really where the future will go. And that's why we see more and more kids coming out of university don't want to work for us, but want to have their own business, because that's freedom. And the other one is seen as a constraint. You also have to adopt new things. This is a business model canvas. It's a group of people that went to the internet with a problem and say, if you have a business, you're going to create a business, would you guys on the internet tell me how is the best way to do it? And this is 2 Swiss guys that started doing this, and it's a business model canvas. It's a book which has been basically sold, I don't know how million copies, and it's basically made by you guys that give feedback to a group of people who collect the thing. So it's crowdsourcing at its best. And more than anything else, we need to understand each other, right? We are the big truck, so we are set by rules like set a goal, how much money you get, how much money you get back, avoid surprises, lose to competitors, predictive, the future's reliable, it's good ratio of the past. And the startups have to, you don't have money. So, if I come and say, well, come and see me in 3 months, you know that in 3 months probably you're out of money. So how are you going to solve the problem, right? So time is more important, right? Partnerships are good. So also sometimes what I've observed in these last 2 days, if few startups would have been talking to each other, probably your value proposition would be so strong that we would take you tomorrow. But the problem that each one of you thinks about an individual person and not as a group of people that if you would get together. So my encouragement sometimes when you're working in adjacent areas, team up with different things. And, when you do the hackathon, one of the golden rules is that you go on the stage and say, hey, I'm Mr. So-and-so, I need a web developer, I need this one and that one. And I think maybe this is something that you guys in the kitchen could think about. That could be a way where you can help startups also define startups with each other, which can solve a bigger problem if they would do it together. Right? I'm almost done. This is trying to explain the different approaches for the next big thing and how companies are organizing themselves. And you have different types of companies here. You have the incubator and you have the accelerator. And here you have the search field. You clearly see consumer goods like us. We're working on clean tech and sustainability quite a lot. Media and publishing a lot. That's why we're doing a lot of work on media publishing and a lot of e-commerce. Things that's a bit changing, but you can see very much technology work on e-health, education, other things. When you go to accelerators, that's even worse. There's even less of that whole thing. So how do you organize yourself? So Coke has one name, Unilever has another one, P&G has another one, and I think Nestle doesn't have another one. And the reason why we're not having another one, because for me, If you're not able to get outcome of this type of initiative, it's no meaning. You need to deliver something. To deliver, to come here and to tell you how good we are and make this presentation, and then nothing happens, and make a big institution, nothing happens, I lose credibility. To come here, tell you what we're looking for, maybe next time when I come in January, there will be more people doing it. And you know it's only one time, but we have people on the ground where you can in the meantime talk to, be it R&D, be it in the marketing, which gives us this type of ability. But at the end, you have to start thinking an incubating venturing unit, which search for repeatable business model or ideas. We test it. We have a few areas where we're doing some testing. In Singapore, we're using as a test market. We do these things. We can find out and becomes an accelerator for small entrepreneurs. So we would see that we need something, and then suddenly that somebody, we use a person in Singapore to help us on creating an app. And that needs to be transitioned and go into what we call the broader Nestle organization. So you need to have a unit which is a bit more agile and capable, but if you go into the big Nestle is governed by certain type of things. We have certain metrics and certain rules that we cannot bend inside. So how do you make it happen? I think have the right people around the discussion table. You will always need people that find the next big thing. You have people that make it tangible. I think we had a couple of examples here. You presented yourself as I'm the scientist, he's the techno, I'm the other one. That's fine, but think about within that type of framework, do you have the right people around the table? Because you might have, and normally startups have a lot of people that are thinking outside of the box and a lot of people which are creating prototypes. But then you don't have the person who's saying, enough guys, I have enough of ideas, let's make something out of it. Let's make a strategy out of it. What are we going to do? What are we going to happen? And then the guy wants to make a strategy, wants to make a perfect strategy, and you go nowhere. So you need to have the guy who says, enough is enough. Let's execute, let's deliver, let's make it happen, let's test it. And if I could give you 4 examples of prototypes of people like that, Richard Branson, perfect transporter. Jobs, a perfect inventor. Mastermind, Gates, and who's the best executive of the world, which is still today very old but still kicking, is Warren Buffett. Right? Those are the typical stereotypes, and it doesn't mean that you need to be one, but if you have predominant characteristics and the 16 different permutations of different types of prototypes, there's nothing else than yellow, red, blue, and green, brain thinking. It's nothing special. And the last thing, which maybe this financial guy in Nestle loves this, because it's not by necessarily putting more money into the pot that you're getting better results. If you need to have perfect strategic alignment, what you want to achieve and what you want to make happen, and a culture that is supporting that whole thing. And this is really, really, really important. And my last slide is the culture is really important. Have a mindset that is doing that. And you know, you have to have passionate people that can navigate between making money and changing the world. And that's, for me, the rules of the game are different. It's changing the world, trying to solve a problem, a big problem that people have, and at the same time finding also the other side to be able to make money, because you need to make money, because then you can invest in new ideas. Money is not only a game for making yourself rich, it's also a mean to discover new things. And I think that's what I would like to leave you. And my last message is a black slide with a guy who's writing with his 2 hands, and normally I don't have it here, with the 2 feet, simultaneously 4 different things. So if you think the mind, and you have found your top capability, you can train your mind to almost impossible to do this, and you can see it live if you Google this guy. So thank you very much for this. I know if you have questions or other things, otherwise we can just enjoy.
Yeah, I have a question. First of all, thank you, of course. You talked about, in some of your slides, about front-end innovation. Do you distinguish between front and back? I'm not sure I quite understood the phrase.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, this is more jargon we have in the industry.
Okay.
Front end is what I would call the discovery phase. Right? So when we have to solve a problem, right? Or we have a consumer request, we need to work on the concept. It's what I would call it from idea to concept, right? That's a conceptualization. And then that front end, we need to define what the problem, we need to see if we have enough information about it, primary or secondary research information. And then through that, we go back to the problem again and see if we're really on it. But then you need to go and look, can we sustain this idea? Is it an idea where we have the capabilities to compete? Do we have the technology? Do we have the thing? So if the opportunity area comes and tells us, no, you're not strong in yogurt in the US, don't go there. Okay, you can go there, you have the money to make it happen, but we'll never be in yogurt in the US, so maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe be yogurt in France where we're stronger, right? And then when you've done that, even if you have come with ideas, you need to prototype, you need to make it real. Because the real world will be when you put it out there, first of all, towards your own self, your own company, you already selected. But when you go out and you test with consumers, with people, let's say we would have 10 samples, we taste it here together, you will tell me it's crap. So all my invention collapsed. Now, to do that, you need to do it in a timely manner. And the front end today is not necessarily done that way. Normally, if you go to Stanford, where Steve Blank is teaching entrepreneurs how to be entrepreneurs, he said you have 12 weeks all the way from the idea to the pitch, to the VC. And out of those 12 weeks, you probably have 6 weeks, which is your concept piece. And then you prepare yourself for the pitch. Maximum is 9 to 12 weeks. So that area is the area where I believe companies, not only us, but companies are not doing well. You're not defining well the problem, then you put a lot of money into your development, because that we normally know how to do it, in your to development, and you don't get the necessary return. And the question is, if you look to how many products go on the shelf and come out, it's a quantity which is amazing, because we don't do great work in the front end. So front end for me is like you guys go to your proof of concept and other type of things in your jargon.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I have a question.
Yes.
My name is Dor Tumir from Steak Tzartzar. We develop mass farming of grasshoppers.
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 Yeah,
for food.
Alternative proteins.
Exactly. The question is, what is Nestle's, your take on or vision on this great opportunity of providing the required protein to the hungry population around the world, in Africa, in Asia, and other countries?
Okay, I'll take your question. Why don't you take 2 or 3 questions so I might be able to reply in one go? You had another one there. I'll come back to you, yeah, sure.
Out of the box, if I may, question. How do you approach, the statistics for 20 years, 30 years is that people consume more and more food away from home, out of home, food service, whatever you call it. How does the innovation part of Nestle approach this huge market?
Yeah. Okay, I'll take another one, and because 3 I can remember. Then I'll start giving you wrong answers. So.
My name is Rami. Do you have a specific model you operate under when people approach you, a specific scheme, or how does it work at Nestle?
Okay, so I'll take all 3 questions. So, alternative proteins is an area where there's a lot of research going on across the world. And specifically, we're looking at it because obviously we have a group in our Nestle Research Center, which is a home economics group, which is looking exactly to these type of big challenges that are in front of us. Very clearly, alternative proteins. There's a lot of work going on inside the organization. We have already we already have even here in Israel, I think with the ranges that we have under the Awesome brand, already quite a lot of good knowledge in that area, and we do a lot of work on meat analogs in this space and others. The challenge is also coming, the usual of alternative proteins, and particularly peas and even insects or other type of thing, is coming along with the acceptance of the consumers that they're willing to try it and do it. I can tell you, we had bars of insect snack bars. I came back, I put them in the middle of the table, and not many people wanted to eat it. Okay, so there's still a certain level of, and there's existing flowers and things like that. But on the other side, we had people coming out with crazy ideas on the insect, and you want to see the real insect. So you want the bug. The kid wants to eat the bug, right? And you hear crazy things. I think plant proteins are very good for enhancing protein content. So it's used as an additional protein enhancer. But I believe in the future we will hear more and more, and specific diets requirements of people are pushing the industry to adopt more and more this type of solution. The issue is always the taste. How do you mitigate strong taste of greeny type of stuff? And this has to do with the education, has to do with a lot of other things. So I strongly believe this is there's a lot of emerging science in this area, and there's still a lot of knowledge. On the other side, alternative proteins. I don't know if you ever tried to be on a pea-based type of protein for 10 days. There's other side effects of that. So I think you have to be very, very careful of twisting the scale from one side to another. So it's a gradual approach towards that side.
Just one word. I wasn't talking about changing everything. I'm talking about the population that already eat the insects, and these are the insects that they eat. But today they harvest them in the wild, so they have them 4 weeks a year. So basically, it is to provide them with monthly the same insect.
We are open, and the big companies like Cargill and other companies are looking into these type of things. So we're always open to see this, provided it can be applied, it can run on our lines, because there's a lot of there's a lot of consequence of changing, shifting from different things. And there's a lot of investment done, and the people have to be prepared to pay for it, and are not necessarily prepared to pay, because not necessarily those proteins are going to be cheaper than the milk-based or the animal protein. So that's out of home is a very important thing. That's why at a certain moment in time we created a unit called Nestle Professional, looking into this. I think it goes much more behind products. It's about business models, about different type of things. I think the fact that people have moved from 3 days, three meals to in-between meals is a big concern. One of your colleagues here talked about how you have longer satiety periods in between meals and that type of thing. And some of this permanent stacking is also some of the responsibility of obesity and that type of thing. So on one side there's a big issue, on the other side there's a big opportunity. How you overcome these type of things, and going more towards understanding the habits of people in their busy lives and how they want to do it is really important. The office is a very important piece of thing. I think we can see it here, other things. So is that a big opportunity for Nestle? It definitely is. I mentioned to you we only have 2% of the world food and beverage market share. So there's a huge space for everybody, and only who's able to characterize the product will be able to do it in the right way. But we have a specific area, and it's divided by beverages and food solutions, and that's where we're put in contact with chefs, I think. But I think the issue of out of home is a broad issue that we need to address, because of course if people eat less at home, we need to shift the consumption out of home. We need to see how we capture them, because these are people on the go. So brands play a very important role to get your top of mind that you need to go there. But then you have other competing brands, which are the providers, like the Starbucks, the McDonald's, or the Nando's, or the other things, which need to accept your products. So it's a bit of a different type of relationship, because it's not a direct consumer relationship, it's a customer, consumer, manufacturer relationship. And so I think invention is a solution, proprietary solutions is a solution, where you create a need which is specific to your product, and then the people need to use it. So it's a complicated thing. And regarding models, I don't think we have a model per se. The model is, and that's why we're trying to find it. We have 1,500 different people coming to talk to us directly in Switzerland. But reaching out for me is an opening up model. For sure, here in Israel, I can only say we have an R&D center. That's a way to approach it. People are here. David is a guy. You have Ilanit on the other side. So the idea today, talking to you, is to say, look, we're open to look. And normally we have a first approach, which is just a chat. Then we might have a need of a deeper chat, and then at that point is a yes or a no. And if there's something which is pre-competitive, no problem. If it's something which you're going into some very, very deep discussion, then normally a non-disclosure agreement is signed, and then you can get into more intimate discussions. Our approach, normally we prefer to give market access. There could be some IP discussions which we might be interested in, to license IP, that could be another approach. Normally we don't like to invest in companies so small, because then you have a lot of management time that needs to be followed and other things, so we prefer to enable companies to have a market access. That's the way we like to do it. And if you are an ingredient type of startup, normally we would recommend you to one of our partners to enable you then to convert this into something which can be scalable for the size. The problem we have, and you have to realize, that we are big. It might take a long time for you to get in. But when you get in, the volumes are huge. So, and we can kill companies in that way, because then you don't have enough volume, and then so we have to be very careful how we deal with things, because maybe we never think about that, but you have a small company and you create big issues. Is there any other question? Yes?
I have an issue to raise that once we have the right technology, and we have our own lab for enzymes and other, and we can test, but the issue or the thing that bothers me is that you can work here in the kitchen, for example, for 2 years and create the wrong product. For example, if we approach a company like you or your center here, we could save sometimes even a year or two just by combine our technology and our IP from day one with the right product. For example, we can do bars or cereals or many things, and we can choose the wrong direction just because that we didn't collaborate from day one with Nestle or with Strauss or with any other company.
But for me, the answer is very simple. The first thing you need to create is IP. Because the IP gives you the license to talk to people without being stolen your idea, right? And I think the fact that you have established already some contacts might be then an enabling factor, and then you decide to then pursue that type of route. But those are the discussions that need to take place after that. We need to evaluate if what you have is really something.
So once we get, let's say, the patent, probably this is the right time to approach the big companies like you or like Strauss and present the idea and try to collaborate and make it.
Yeah, I'd say once you have proof of concept that's working and you have no worries that if you disclose things, I think we don't want to talk to people that have an idea which is similar to the one we're working. Otherwise, we'll be in conflict. We might already be in conflict. I have no idea, but I think talking would be a moment where we would have to say, look, we cannot talk more about this. Now we have to either to sign a non-disclosure agreement, or we cannot talk to you because you better file a patent because you're also doing something in that area. So I think each case needs to be treated as a separate one, because it's very difficult to. It goes back to, do we have principles on that? And the principles for me is, okay, you put forward an idea, you need to understand more about it, how is the mechanism and how it's functioning, without needing to go to the details of the patent. There's certain things which are pre-competitive that you can talk about, but there are things which are competitive in nature, which maybe we cannot go, and you cannot disclose it to us. So that's a very important discussion, and then the next steps are going into more deeper things. But I totally agree with you. But you might have something which we think is critical for us, and then it's a totally different discussion. So there's a moment, it's like, dating a person. How much you let the other person know about your real self, right? Let them know all the good things. When you're dating a person, everything looks perfect, right? And then when you start from the dating going into a much deeper discussion, you start seeing, but why does she always clap her hands every time I talk, right? Maybe it's a bit annoying that she claps her hands. We never saw that when you was dating, but that's the thing. So those are the things that are part of in deeper onboarding.
Anything else? So thanks a lot for the conversations and for your listening. And basically what we've done today, we've opened up a bit of an area for food techs and people who are interested to tell us about things, either directly or indirectly, through Amit, right? Amir. Amir. I was calling him Alan, I don't know why. Sorry.
You look like one.
You look like Alan, right?
I get that a lot.
With Amir, or you have three vehicles basically of connection to us. One is Amir, one is Ian, and one is our David, which is basically represents me the host of the center, which is. So thank you very much, and Happy New Year. There's a lot of New Years when you travel the world,
Yes.
so it's not only the one that's.